Hey, it's Jane from the Compassion Project, and I am super honored that I have Taylor Grimes' parents here, Anne and Tom. Say hi.
Hi.
I'm like, honestly, I'm super honored that you guys have joined me. A lot of people are interested in Taylor's story, and I just think it's so important to share the parents' perspective because we all relate to what you're going through. So Anne and Tom are from Winter Springs, Florida. They've been married for 34 years.
Oh, wow.
Way to go.
Very good.
Yes. Somebody's been doing their homework.
I know.
Yeah, and they have two sons, Weston and Taylor.
Yeah.
And I know from, looking into you guys, they are a really fun-loving couple. Like, you guys like to have fun.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like to dress up and have fun and you're on ventures and travel and bike ride. And you can tell that you also just love your son so much and your family, right? And so today we're talking about Taylor because for people that are joining that don't know his story, Taylor was quarantined on a ship in a port in Italy for 64 days. And honestly, as a mom myself, I can't imagine how it has been for you guys. So, and Taylor being a very social person, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So basically just really want to hear how it has been for you. Someone here said hi quickly. Cheryl, she's been following your story.
Yes, I know she's been following it. I've been liking different things and sending different thanks and emojis back. So yes,
I know she's really been interested in the story. So maybe Anne, I was going to start with you. When did you become aware that this global pandemic is serious and things? We all started to think, gee, this is a bigger deal than we think. As a mom, when did you really start to worry? Like, okay, he needs to come home.
It wasn't at the very beginning. You know, everything was shutting down and we were in contact with him, and he one of his best friends on the ship went home and tested positive, and he voluntarily said, I'm going to go into quarantine, and he goes, I feel fine. As long as he felt fine, we were okay with it. It was after he had been in quarantine for, I think it was 15 days, and then they tested him and he tested positive, which we weren't surprised, but that seemed to be the beginning of the decline where he was testing positive. They kept moving his room. He was in the crew quarter, then they moved him to a guest quarter, and then they moved him to a balcony room, which is still small, but at least he had he could walk outside.
Yeah.
But it was really at about the time that he tested positive the first time, was when we started to get concerned. I think that's when we sprung into action and we were able to get him stuff from Amazon, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'd like to be more proactive than reactive. So we realized, all right, he's in quarantine. He, the food is not great for crew. You know, everybody always thinks you're on a cruise and, oh my God, you got the buffet, and it's not that way for the crew. I mean, it's a very different world in the crew. But we were able to reach out to Amazon Italy and start providing things to them. And one of them was a European SIM card, because the company said, we will give you social media, which is cool. You know, he could go onto Facebook, but we were not going to give that, or they weren't going to give him Wi-Fi. And for him to be able to have Wi-Fi, you had to have a European SIM card. And really Wi-Fi is what he needed. He could watch some things on Netflix and do a little bit more. So we were able to get, we ordered 3 things through Amazon. The card was one of them, and they deliver to the port, but they don't deliver to the ship. So you're relying on the port to get it to them. But we got the card, a box of snacks that are American snacks, like Twinkies and stuff. But we did not get him, it's the flavored water packets, like the Crystal Light stuff. We thought, well, if he's going to be stuck drinking water, that didn't make it. We don't care. The SIM card was the big thing. The other one was just, it was cool. We got it to him. But that's when we saw.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's like a mom thing, mom and dad. get him. So maybe just to clarify, or Tom, you can, he, just the people that maybe not, that he worked on a cruise ship and he was.
He did. He worked on a cruise ship. He was hired by the cruise line to work in their jewelry department. And he did his training in the Med, and then he did, did some of the North Atlantic cruising into the Nordic countries, and then got transferred to the ship that he ended up being on, which was doing a Mediterranean cruise. And the cruising in the Mediterranean is a little bit different. They use the same routine week after week after week.
Okay.
So any day of the week, we would know where he was based on, it's Wednesday, he's going to be in Rome. Thursday, he was in another port in Italy, or he was in Spain, or where he was.
Yeah.
On this last cruise that he was on, we started to see a decline in the infrastructure of the cruise line. He started sending us notifications of, this port isn't going to allow us to dock. We're not going to be able to put in here, so we're going to have to go to the next one. So their itinerary changed 4 times before they finally pulled into Genoa and then shut everything down.
Oh, wow. So in the
saw,
middle of that, ports were closing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The ports were closing to incoming cruise lines. They didn't want to bring people in that may be infected, or to expose the people that may be on the boat to an infection that was already there. So they were trying to be proactive and shut down the ports of entry that would allow the virus to come into the countries. So yes, they shut them down. Finally, when he made it to Genoa, they started disembarking everybody. Well, Taylor said, I'm going to stay and help shut the ship down.
Mm-hmm.
So they needed somebody from each one of the departments. They needed engineering. They needed people from food services, from housekeeping. They needed people from all services. So he was retail. He stayed. They did inventory. They shut down the shops.
Cleaning.
They did all cleaning. They did all that kind of stuff. And they were there, and they were staying on the boat. He was going to be the part of the skeleton crew staying on the boat. That was a volunteer on his part.
Yeah.
But it was with the understanding he'd be paid. They
But
had told him that they would be paid. And that was part of the reason why he did it, is he was on a second contract. It was only, I think he was, 2 months into it?
Less than 2 months.
And so he wanted to stay. You don't think, who would have known this was going to happen? So
No, and I think, yeah.
Yeah, so
I think
he
we
stayed
thought it
and,
was maybe 2 weeks or something, right?
Right.
We all thought it was.
And that's exactly what they told him when they did this. We're going to shut down. It's going to be about 2 weeks, and then we're going to resume, and you're going to be here in the front lines and be ready to go. So after that happened, and they shut down, it just got progressively worse. Some of the people that they disembarked tested positive when they got back to their home ports. So people that were exposed to those people before they left were quarantined. Taylor volunteered, hey, this person was quarantined. I will self-quarantine, put me in one of those rooms. So he isolated himself voluntarily. And like Ann said, 2 weeks later, they're testing him. He tested positive. Not a surprise. It was just a roller coaster ride after that came up.
Yeah.
The positive, negative.
Oh my goodness.
So 8 tests, and he tested 4 times negative and 4 times positive, but he could not get, until the last 2, could not get a 2 negatives in a row.
that's what it was required.
And that was
Required
what was
in
required.
Right.
Italy. Yes.
Yeah.
Had to have 2, and it wasn't the ship deciding it. This is Italy. That was their, and that's fine. We get that. I don't blame them. I mean, my God, this thing was horrible. But he had to have 2 negatives in a row before he could disembark. Problem was, he'd get a negative and then a positive, then a negative, then a positive. And
So Tom, what was the hardest part for you as his father? Like,
I will say I'm the emotional one out of the 2 of us.
True.
My hardest thing was watching his mom go through the turmoil that she went through. Woman never cries, ever.
Aww.
Never. I will say never. The opening day of baseball, she would cry once in a while. She cried at her oldest son's graduation, but not at Taylor's.
Well, because it's the first time a kid graduated.
Yeah.
It was like,
But watching her go through the turmoil and the emotions that she went through was the hardest thing for me.
As a husband,
Because it was just, it tore her apart. She is, if nothing else, she is the epitome of the doting mother. Her
In a
oldest,
good way.
her
In
oldest,
a good way.
her oldest
Yeah.
son is also on the front lines. He is a deputy sheriff here in Florida. He calls her every day he works.
Aw.
Every day on his way to work, he calls his mom to let her know that he's okay and that he's, going to work. And she always says, be careful out there. You have to come home to us. So it's always
Or to
been,
his wife.
or to his wife.
Or to his wife.
Or
I
to his
mean,
wife.
really, he goes home to his
Yeah,
wife.
he does
but-
have a wife, yeah.
We love dearly, actually. We love.
But I think we were talking a bit before, but that feeling, because I have a daughter that's overseas in Australia, and we just, as moms, just knowing our kids are safe and happy, then we're good.
Yep.
Yep.
It's all it
But
takes.
when they're struggling or in pain or something,
Yep.
it just eats at you. You just,
Mhm.
right? And that's what I thought. It must be so unbelievably hard for you and that out of control. Because if the flights were open, you'd be like, I'm going to Italy. I'm going to get them off the ship.
Believe it or not,
She thought about it.
I thought about it. I actually looked up flights. The problem was I could probably get to Italy. It might have taken a little finagling. I could not get on the port. So
Yeah.
they would not let me into the
Yeah.
port.
The Italian government had the port closed off.
I couldn't get to them.
So
I could swim.
you had to have certain people were able to go back and forth, and those were the healthcare workers that were coming onto the ships to do testing and stuff like that. But that was it.
Yeah. So you couldn't have done anything anyway.
No. No.
Cheryl, that sounds like you raised nice boys. Good job, Mom.
We tried. They may
And
say differently.
also, someone says hi from Vancouver Island. We're also glad to get him on his way home.
All
Doesn't say
Very
who.
true.
So what do you think was the most frustrating part of the whole thing?
Watching his mental, I don't want to say stability. That's not
Outlook.
his mental outlook declining. You could see it. We knew. So he's 6 hours ahead. So we would literally, no lie, sleep with the phone in the bed in case he needed us. And in the morning, first thing we would do, like even 5:30, 5:30, 5 o'clock, we'd roll over and look, and I'd send him a text and go, "Hey, how you doing?" You could tell by the first either text or phone call how the day would be. And if it was bad, it was bad. It was very dark and very bad. And
Uh-huh.
that was the hardest thing to maneuver for me, because if it was a bad day, how can I try to lift his spirits, give him hope, like that we can do this. But
Yeah.
yet we're still working, we got to work full time. We got things we have to do. But really my focus was, what can I do to make him feel better? I can't physically be there. I can't get anything to him. I can't talk to the captain to do something. So for me and Taylor, the connection, what can I do, or what can Tom do to try to make his day better? So he has hope. That was
So such a
horrible.
lack of control. It's just there's just
None.
as parents, nothing we can. When I talked to him on Sunday, I just seriously loved him. But I really understood that whole mental side. We were talking about it's a mental game that he's playing in that tiny little room, like a little porthole. And I think he mentioned something. I thought this must have been so hard on you guys. He ended up going to the hospital to get retested, and then ended up in an ambulance, and they wouldn't take him back to his ship.
Yeah, it was really bad. So last week was probably the darkest 2 days we had. Monday morning, we woke up around 5:30 to the phone ringing, and it was Taylor. We would use apps to be able to go back and forth, and one of them, I think, is House Party. That became our primary.
Oh yeah,
So he would ring us through House Party. Again, phone's in the bed. So we're like, "Hey, what's up?" And he said he's crying, and I mean crying. And Taylor's like me; he's not a crier. Crying, and he goes, "It's positive. Get me out of here. I can't do this." Like, he was losing it. And again, we have no control. So we knew it was going to be a bad day. We get up, we keep him on the phone throughout the day. Other than like he may take a nap, but he at that point was just devastated. And then his doctor, who I will say, thank God for Claudia and the nurse Darko, because it's nice to know you do have somebody over there that, while not the mom or anything, it has his best interest. So
yeah.
they were able to get whomever to agree to take him the next day to the hospital because they've been testing him on the ship. And honestly, he's in a room that's not being sanitized. No air circulation. The air had been turned off. No laundry. He was doing his own laundry in the sink. The room is not being sanitized. So we're wondering, is this virus living on him, even the dead virus? So she got them to agree to take him to the hospital on Tuesday to get tested. At 2 o'clock our time, 8 o'clock his time, we set the alarm. We wake up because nobody else can go with him. So we went with him virtually through the phone. He's all in his gear, hazmat gear. They take him to the hospital. They take him to the ICU COVID ward where people are on ventilators and not doing well. And that's where he goes. He's texting me this whole time, Mom, it's horrible. But they did a blood test and a swab test. We never did get the results of the blood test. No. And they told him they'd have the results back that in an hour. EpiCame, we'll have the results back tomorrow. They put him in the back of the ambulance. Again, we're texting back and forth, how, like, everything okay? And he goes, yeah, they're bringing me back to the ship. I'll get the results tomorrow. All of a sudden, my phone rings. It's like 5:30, maybe even 6 in the morning. But anyways, early. And he's all in his gear. Before something. Yep. And he's in the back of the ambulance. And he goes, Mom, my phone's at 15%. They're refusing to take me back to the ship. They're taking me to I'm at the hospital ship. And he didn't know he's in the back of an ambulance till they opened the door. He said, they're telling me I have to get out. I'm refusing to get out.
Poor
and I
guy.
said, he's having a panic attack, anxiety attack, which we are too here. We asked him, did you call the doctor, Claudia? He said, yes, she's talking to the captain. I said, did you call the American Embassy? Because again, we have somebody at the American Embassy, Anna Maria, who was amazing. He said, I called and left her a message. And then he said, they're telling me they're calling the police because they wanted him out of the ambulance. And then the phone stops. Then the phone hangs up. So I look at my husband, do the ugly cry, like literally tears going.
Oh my God.
And then for a hot second that went on. And then we're like, we got to do something. And we get a hold of we both call the American Embassy hotline. Like if somebody's died hotline, we're on the American Embassy hotline. We get a hold of somebody. In the meantime, I don't know how to reach his doctor other than through him. I find her on Facebook. I'm texting her. She had commented on his picture in his hazmat gear. And I saw the name and I'm like, that's got to be her. So I reach out to her. Then we start corresponding back and forth. But long story short, about 45 minutes later, as all this is going on, Taylor all of a sudden texts me and said, I've given up. I can't do it anymore. I just can't do this. And I wrote him back and said, just get into a room, relax. We'll get this figured out. And he goes, I'm in a room. That's how he was able to text me. Somebody gave him a charger. But the reason the phone, it turned out, disconnected is because
incoming phone
call from his home office, who, by the way, said to him, Taylor, you have to get out. It's an ambulance. You can't stay in there. Aww. You're going to have to get out. So he gets out. And then they said, you've agreed to stay on the hospital ship, which he hadn't. All he had was the clothes on his back and the hazmat suit on.
And so the hospital ship is all positive. Well, I guess he tested positive.
They considered him positive because he had
his last test that we got results back from was positive. So it was considered positive. So they kidnapped him basically.
Yeah.
He had no say in where he was going. Not that he would have had a say anyways, but the way they did it, just without any kind of notice or anything like that. All of his stuff was still on his other ship.
Doctor didn't know. Captain didn't know.
And you feel like a prisoner for sure.
And the funny thing is, Taylor's very, okay, give me this option and I may do it. And they had told him about the hospital ship the day before. He had told me about it and said, they're asking me to move to it. And he goes, I may do it, but I want more. I want more. I just want to know how many doctors they have. How often are they tested? Like, if I go, can I come back to the ship? Like, he just wanted more information. Yeah. And he said to me, the reason they want me on that hospital ship is they want to make the ship he was on a clean ship where there were no positive results on there. So people can move around freely. And he goes, Mom, I don't want to be that guy that says, I'm not going and everybody has to suffer. He goes, I just want to know more about it. But they took that from him and they did not even tell him. They just moved him and nobody knew. Again,
he's such a good person. Like me talking to him that hour, I could really feel what a good person he is. Like even saying that there's people suffering more than him. Cheryl asked, what was this employer doing for him while this was happening?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? What were they doing for him?
Yeah, I think his employer's doing for him. They probably couldn't do that much, could they, really?
Well, somebody asked us the other day, who are you mad at? And there's no one person you can be mad at. It's not like I can point a finger and go, you are the problem.
Yeah.
But I will say, as an employer, when you're now on, and this happened at about the 54th or 56th day or something when this all went down, when somebody's been in isolation for 20, 30 days, at that point, I feel as an employer, you need to go, okay, what can we do to make sure he is stimulated, that we're reaching out to him?
Yeah.
Is there anything you need? Taylor, we'll give you Wi-Fi. We were paying for the Wi-Fi. I mean, they ended up reimbursing them after all this went down with the hospital ship. Amazingly, once we really got fired up over it, then they reimbursed. But at 30 days, he shouldn't have been positive anyway at that point.
I know.
Don't you reach out to him and say, Taylor, what can we do to help you? Like this is what we're doing behind the scenes. What do you need? You need your laundry done so you're not doing it in your sink, which is what he was doing. How about that? How about we come in and disinfect your room because you really shouldn't be still showing positive.
Yeah.
They weren't doing those things. And that I am mad at. I do feel like
think
they have opportunities.
I think the whole pandemic, there's so many companies all over the world thrown into this, how to deal with anything. It's so, the whole situation is just so crazy that I always try to assume that people do the best, but the situations don't always work out for the best. You're dealing with humans, and I think Taylor's just such a good person that he did, volunteer to do this and then, but no one expects 64 days in isolation. I don't even know. No. So now I'm going to fast forward a bit. So we're feeling a little happier today, you guys.
Yes.
So when did he get the second? He was in the hospital ship, because I talked to him on Sunday when he was in the ship. He'd been on that one for 4 days, I think.
Yep.
And then so then he did get 2 negative tests.
He got the first negative thing on Saturday morning.
Okay.
Or Saturday morning our time, Saturday mid-afternoon his time, which was completely unheard of up to that point. This was after the local radio or local TV station ran a story and it went across the country. All of a sudden now we're getting weekend updates, which we weren't getting before. So he gets the negative reading on Saturday, which was his first test he had. The one he had in the hospital didn't come back yet. So yes, you interviewed him on Sunday. He hadn't heard the second test. Monday, hadn't heard anything.
We thought it would come Monday. Then we thought
Tuesday. We didn't hear anything until Wednesday morning at
4:30.
4:30.
4:30 in the morning. Again, phone in the bed.
He rings us. We get up, and he tells us that it was negative, and they're making arrangements now to get him out.
But he didn't believe it because it came from the embassy, and he said, it's negative. The embassy called me. It's negative. They're making arrangements to get me out. But until I hear from my doctor, I'm not believing it.
At this point, we had been dashed against the rocks so many times with the negatives and then the positives and then, hijacking him and putting him on another ship. We weren't going to take anything, other than the official word from the parties that mattered. Embassy was great. They weren't the people making the decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you had hope that day, Wednesday morning. Was a day.
We did have hope, but it was tempered by our past experience, and we said we're not going to let this one drive us. We're going to make sure we get the official word before we did. So we didn't post anything on Facebook.
Yeah.
We didn't do any of that stuff.
We didn't
tell anybody until we got the official word, and then we let everything go. And the outpouring of congratulations and best wishes and hope to see him soon type things. All those things just started pouring in.
So exciting. Honestly, I was walking my dog, and then Cheryl, Jimmy, the ones that's paying a lot of attention, she said, is there an update on Taylor? And I was like, oh, I'll message him. So I messaged him and he said, I just did a live on my page. And I was like, so I shared the live. We're all celebrating in my group, the Compassion Project. And yeah, I think it's interesting because this whole feeling of so many people around the world have joined in on the story and are celebrating because we were all kind of going through it with you, you know.
Yeah.
Cheryl said something else. I know. She put, it was bad to leave him alone and not assist with emotional support. And I understand he was not being paid. I know. It's the emotional support, but I love this. Okay. I have to ask you guys this. Well, he said on our chat, because my sister had asked, Taylor, what are you going to do when you get home? And he was so cute. He's like, McDonald's.
That's become a thing, by the way. We love it. It's that and I can promise you, when we leave here, we figure we're going to leave around 4 o'clock and start heading down. We have to make a stop. We will stop at the closest McDonald's to the airport in Fort Lauderdale. It's right off of 95. I pass it all the time. And he will have McDonald's in the back seat waiting for him. Yes.
You better film it or something.
Oh, we will film it. Trust me. There'll be a lot of tears and a lot of filming.
So does he have to self-isolate when he gets home with you guys?
Yep.
So for 2 weeks.
Yep. So he won't. The funny thing is the local news that actually broke it, a friend of ours in the neighborhood that used to be Taylor's keyboard teacher, and Weston, my oldest son's guitar teacher, we see her all the time. We walk around the neighborhood and we see her. Her name's Lori. Thank God for her. And one day she calls us last week and she goes, I have a friend at WESH. It's a TV show. And she goes, I'm going to call him, because she'd been following Taylor. Her and Taylor have been friends for years. And shoot, I forgot where I was going with that.
About the McDonald's?
She introduced us to.
Yeah, to Dave McDaniel. But I can't remember where I was going with that. I lost my thought.
Was it to do?
That's what happened. I'm sorry.
So good.
Like so much in my head right now.
To do with him being at McDonald's and sharing it, I think, and it'll come back.
Sorry.
But
people.
so I know Tom. What is his route home? He went.
He left. They put him up actually in a hotel in Genoa. He left there at 5 o'clock in the morning. Yesterday morning, right?
Well, it was 11 o'clock our time is when he sent me us a note. We were still up and he said, the car just arrived and they're picking me up.
So our time last night at 11 o'clock, his time, 5 o'clock in the morning, he was leaving the hotel. He had a 2-hour drive to Milan. He was going from Milan to Frankfurt. And then from Frankfurt, he was going to Dulles International in Washington, D.C., and then his last stop will be Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Okay, and he did you said he got business class from.
Yes.
He got from Milan to Frankfurt. It's all United Airlines, by the way.
So
but
awesome.
by the time our friend got notice of it, he didn't have time to make arrangements from Milan. So he got in touch with the people in Frankfurt, got hold of the crew chief, and told him that he was coming on board. And they said, we will take care of him.
Aww.
So when they did get hold of him, they sat him down in a regular seat and said, we'll take care of you. And they moved him up to Business X or Business Plus class, so first class. Nice. And so they sent us a picture. I couldn't find it on my phone because it's on Anne's phone. I know she tagged it on somebody's stream.
You can post it in the comments after.
We will.
Yeah, well, I thought Tom had it on his, but they took a picture.
So they took a picture of him sitting in first class and with his mask and everything on. So he was then going to be coming back first class there, and then when he gets to Dulles, then he'll just have the short 3-hour trip to Fort Lauderdale.
And I remember what I was going to say. I'm so sorry. So when the reporter came back yesterday to do a follow-up on him coming home, he asked Taylor, he goes, what's the first thing you're going to do? Are you going to hug your parents? And this is Taylor. No, because I'm coming from a very infected area. I'm traveling until I get home, can get washed and everything. He said, I'm not going to hug them. You know, he does want to eat, wants to do all those things, but that's Taylor. He's more concerned over.
He's safe.
Us.
Yeah. And so it's weird that I can't grab them and hug them, but I will
Yeah.
cry the whole way home and look at them like this in the back seat,
Which is going to be very difficult if she's driving. That's all right.
You guys are awesome. Honestly, I feel really lucky that I've been able to be part of this story. I think it's amazing. So just a couple quick questions we'll end with, which will be kind of fun. So when I was chatting with Taylor, he did say that he said he doesn't really, like to exercise, but he said he would do anything to get on a bike and go for a bike ride. So I was like, so do you think that we'll see him out riding a bike?
Yep, but
He's gonna do it.
Yes, but we have 2 bikes. We when Taylor moved to Chicago, we got rid of his bicycle. I have a bike, Ann has a bike, and we like going out 1 or 2 times a week just to bike ride. Mine broke down, and it sheared the sprockets on the rear wheel, so I didn't have any way of changing gears. So I took it into the shop yesterday,
That's good.
and they go, "Oh yeah, we'll no problem. We'll get it fixed. It's gonna be a week."
So he has a week.
Because
He
everything-
can ride mine, which is fine. But he has a week before Tom's is ready. But he can use mine all he wants.
I just thought it was funny because even in his despair, that video that he posted, there was a little bit of humor. That one video I saw when he was just so sad. He said, "For anyone that knows me, I really want to get on a bike and exercise."
Yeah.
You know, we
That's
took him
not
on a
like
bike ride. We tried to do normal things with him.
Yeah.
So I would, again, through house party, we went on a bike ride and we have, the stand on the bike, and I put it and flipped the screen around so he could see where we were going.
Oh yeah.
And he went on a bike ride with your boat. That's the day your bike broke
That's
down.
what they mine broke down.
So my oldest son and his wife had ridden over, and then we all rode. And then I've taken Taylor to the grocery store. And
To
as
keep
we
him
walked-
entertained, you've been bringing him along with.
I mean,
Aw.
for him to see what it's like to go down an aisle and there's no toilet paper. It's like, look, see, it's still
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah.
And then my mom's 88 and lives about 40 minutes from here. So every time I go down to see my mom, he would stay up so we could call her and she could FaceTime with them. And then she cries and we all cry.
Aww.
But we tried to do normal things for him. So he technically did go bike riding, but the best way, he didn't have to put out any exercise. We just did it.
That was
for him.
Taylor's.
Expected.
Here's someone put, "Wow, does Taylor ever look like his dad?" Just saying. And they are both such wonderful, compassionate parents.
I know.
Taylor
yes,
is lovely.
sorry. Much to Taylor's dismay, yes. Yeah, there is no doubt that he is my child.
I was a
So,
carrier.
and was a carrier.
Yeah.
And, yes.
So-
Oh, no, he does look.
I guess we should probably finish up. So, what will you guys, after all this is over, what will you never take for granted again?
We've always had the philosophy, you can't get that minute back. Even when the kids were young, we tried to volunteer for all the school functions, be the parents in the,
The team mom.
the team mom for football,
Yeah.
Debate club. Taylor was in debate club. If you haven't talked to him, if you talk to him,
Yeah.
But so we've always recognized you cannot get a moment back. So we've always spent time with the kids. It's funny, cruising's just part of what we do. We've been on 18 or 19 cruises, multiple
wow.
transatlantics with the kids. Oh yeah, everything we do, we try to incorporate with the kids. So even though our oldest one's 33, we still do so much together.
Yeah.
We've never taken that. I will say we've never taken our family for granted ever. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we would really change anything when it comes to that, because that's just how we feel.
We've tried to, even with Taylor being, overseas and whatnot, we've relished the time that he takes out of his day to talk to us when mom's getting ready at 6 o'clock in the morning, when we had offices, to go to an office, she's getting ready and he's talking to her on FaceTime, or he's talking to her on house party, whatever it happens to be. And, walking around the sites. He's walking around an Italian city.
Yeah.
He's walking through the fjords in Norway, or wherever he was located. He brought us and more. So so we instilled that into them
Yeah.
throughout the life, and they carried it
Yeah.
on. So, if we get a phone call from my son Weston or whatever, we're doing this. What are you guys doing? Or we're doing this.
Always.
And
Theme
then
parks and
always
whatever.
theme parks,
That's so good.
conventions that we go
Yeah.
to, those type of things. We all try and do it as a family as much as possible.
And be in the
Yeah.
moment. Like we've always tried to really be in the moment. We take a lot of pictures but the boys talk to each other aside from us. So I don't know if we would really do anything
Yeah.
different that way.
I think it's a lot of people strive a lot of their life to realize that the joy is all in the present moment.
yeah.
Like sometimes you're living ahead or in the past, but it's
Yeah.
right. I have grandchildren now. Just wait, my goodness, that is joy and present moment, being with your children and not,
not think ahead. I mean, we just took a transatlantic cruise in the end of October last year from London to New York. And I remember at one point, I'm like, guys, think about it. Right now we are, and I can't even remember what we were doing, but I'm like, think about it. Like, who gets to do this? But it's be in that moment. Like, really think about it and be in that moment.
That's amazing.
So,
well,
yeah,
I'm excited for you when you see him in your McDonald's, and you guys are amazing people. You're a beautiful family. And
Thank you.
if I could just say one thing, I just want to thank you. Damn it.
You're doing it again.
I'm not emotional, but Taylor was so down and so low, and so he was not getting out of bed. I mean, literally would not. He was just like, we would talk to him and what are you doing today? Nothing. I mean, not even getting out of bed. And the fact that people cared about his story and wanted to talk to him, you could see he was getting, I don't want to use the word excited, but it's like he had a purpose.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, something to look forward to. So whether it was, the guy from WESH or from you or whatever, all of a sudden he was like, oh my God, people care. And, in this world right now, it's not, you don't always see the good. They're out there, but it seems like the bad people kind of suck all the life out of it. There were so many good people that even reached out to him that he didn't know and just said, Taylor, we heard your story and, we're here for you. And I just can't thank everybody enough that, as a mom, thank you.
Do you know what I found is that I think what this has shown me too is that we really truly are connected, like globally, like an invisible connection that we have with people that we don't know, because we all go through life's up and downs, and we feel for people that are going through something. And I totally felt your story. I feel lucky to have talked to you and got to know you guys. So I'm excited.
We appreciate it. And I promise we will share pictures and videos, and I can't wait to get him home. I just made his bed all up, even though it was clean. We stripped it and washed it and made it back up so it smells good. And like, we just have everything ready. I went to the store. I've got all his favorite foods here. Like, we're ready. We're ready.
So you're gonna see him. What time is it there where you are right now?
It's 2:30.
2:39.
So you'll see him tonight then, your time.
Yeah, 8:26 is when his flight comes in. I don't know if we can get into the airport. I've heard conflicting stories whether we would be allowed to go in or if they're only allowing passengers in.
Curbside pickup.
Plus, I don't know how comfortable I am. I'm still very fearful of what's going on. I don't care if they open things up. I'm fearful.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully we'll be with him by 9:15 at the latest.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I look forward to the pictures, and I might even contact him in a week and see if he'll do a little update for me.
I'm sure he would be. Hey, quarantine 14 days. He'll be looking for things.
He'll be looking for things to do. Not the things around the house that we haven't planned for.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And thank you for getting this story out there.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.